Oh boy, it always seems like an adventure to get in front of the mic, in front of the camera. For those of you watching at home, and get these podcasts, it just seems like a chore, and it shouldn't. But this is what happens when you got a million things going on at once. But it feels good when I finally do get to sit down and get behind the mic. And that's what we're doing right now. And we're going to jump into this episode. And much like last Friday's podcast episode, it's going to be in and out. It's going to be quick. Like I told you last week, it's going to be like a big fast food burger, chain, in and out. That's what it's going to be again this Friday. And so, with that said, the Louie T Network podcast starts now. Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the 304th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. I got to ask this before we get started. I know I said this was going to be an in and out, and it is going to be a very quick podcast, but what are some of your favorite Christmas songs? I am a massive Christmas song guy. I love Christmas music. My wife makes fun of me all the time because I make sure that I don't break the seal on the Christmas music until we put up the Christmas tree. And we did it early this year because I was fiending for the Christmas music. And what you get out of me is nothing but Christmas music from this point forward all the way until New Year's. And then I go back to listening to regular music. But I'm killing her. And she's like, damn, can we listen to something else? The answer is no, we can't. Okay. I don't listen to Christmas music any other time of the year. A wise man once said, why deprive yourself of something that you enjoy? Why not listen to Christmas music, 12 months out of the year, 365 days? If you feel like it, put it on. I get that. I understand that notion, but Christmas music is supposed to be listened to around Christmas time. It doesn't hit the same in July and it's sweltering outside 98 degrees. It doesn't hit the same. But boy, I love me some Christmas music. Anyway, I just want to throw that out there. And we may talk more about that when I have more time to really dive into it. But anyway, let's get to the Gem Droppin Session, shall we? I think we shall. Let me drop this gem on your melon. Open your mind, let your conscience be free. You're now rolling with your man, Louie T double E. Let me open you up, get you thinking a little bit. So I think we've touched on this briefly. I don't know if we've touched on this a bunch, but Odell Beckham Jr., or as I like to call him, ODB. Shame on you if you step to the old dirty Beckham. Odell Beckham Jr. is looking for a new home. Actively taking meetings right now, met with the Bills, met with the Cowboys, met with the Giants, and he's going to make a decision here shortly. Or rather, a team is going to make a decision because I don't know if he's really in control of this situation the way the media portrays it. Like, he's putting a lot of stipulations on what he wants to do, what he's willing to do, what he can and can't do. And at some point, if you're an NFL team right now in the midst of a playoff hunt and looking to track down a Super Bowl, the all-elusive Lombardi, I don't know if I want a guy who hasn't been with my organization a part of this journey the entire time coming in and telling me what he is or isn't going to do. So for one, he's not working out in any of these, workouts, which that would probably be a non-starter for me if I'm a team, in search of a receiver, the caliber of an Odell Beckham Jr. With you coming off of 2 ACL surgeries in the last 4 years, I think I would need to see that you're good before I could put any kind of ink to paper. And he's not doing that right now. You're just going to have to trust him. You have to listen to the doctors that tell you his knee looks fine. I'm good on that. So that's one, pseudo red flag for me. Maybe that's more of a yellow flag or yellow light. Makes me slow down a bit. Not necessarily makes me stop and turn around, but I'm slowing down at that point. But then he talks about wanting a multi-year deal. Like he's tired of, these one-year contracts. He's tired of being a individual contractor. He's looking for a home. He wants to build a house, and he's tired of, renting and moving every year. It's time to settle down. He's getting up there in age now. It's about time that he find at least one more big contract, and that's what he's looking for. This isn't the time for him to be looking for that contract. How about you get through this postseason run with whatever team you end up signing with? You stay healthy, number one, and if you perform at the level that we think you're capable of, then you go back into the market in the offseason and look for that deal you're talking about. But he's not looking for that because, again, with that comes more exposure and more risk to getting injured, right? That's what happened last year. He was doing a phenomenal job for the Rams, gets into the postseason, he's killing it, gets to the Super Bowl, he's on his way to being Super Bowl MVP, and he tears his ACL. What if that happens again? Well, you want to be able to say, well, I already got my contract, so I'm straight. Again, if I'm a team doing business with Odell Beckham Jr., in that contract, it clearly would state, if you get injured, I am able to abort this contract and possibly seek some of my money back, if at all possible and necessary, if you feel that to be the case. Anyway, don't know if he would be willing to do that. The fact that he wants a long-term deal, coupled with he's not working out, so you're just going to have to trust him, coupled with now the latest in this development that he only wants to play in playoff games. So initially, the thought process was he'd be ready late December, maybe early January, which would mean he could be back for the end of the regular season, which is what you would prefer, because nobody wants to try to integrate a guy that hasn't played all year back onto their, not even back onto their football team. Integrate a brand new piece that doesn't have any synchronicity or any chemistry with the guys. It's not like he was with this team last year or he's with this team earlier this season. He had a major injury and this is him coming off of IR, i.e. Tyron Smith for the Cowboys. Like, there's a working, relationship with the rest of the offensive linemen. He can just be seamlessly inserted into that lineup. And really, offensive lineman, it doesn't count, especially when you're a tackle, because you're really doing your own thing out there. But still, wide receiver, you got to have a continuity with the quarterback. You got to, the routes have to be a certain depth. There's a lot that goes into it. I would like you to play in one or two regular season games, if at all possible, just to kind of knock that rust off. The last thing I really want is for you to be showing up in your first game be wild card weekend. But he's made it abundantly clear, I really only want to play in playoff games. Okay. So you want a long-term deal. You don't want to work out to prove that you're healthy to get the long-term deal. And you only want to play in the playoffs this year. If I'm a team, again, like Dallas and even Buffalo, and maybe Buffalo is probably a better fit for him than Dallas from a standpoint of the Bills really don't need him. They want him. Similar to the way I felt about the Rams. I didn't think the Rams needed him necessarily last year. They wanted him, but it really was proven that they needed him because he stretched the football field vertically for them. And they didn't have really another guy. Van Jefferson can run, but nobody was really fearing Van Jefferson. He kind of provided them what they thought Deshaun Jackson was going to provide them when they signed him. And then they got rid of him early in the season because they realized he's not giving us what we thought he was going to give us. Beckham provided them with that. The Bills have everything I feel like they need offensively, but as the Bucs proved a couple of years ago, you can never have enough. When they went out and they signed Antonio Brown, that was the piece to put him over the top. It was overkill, but who knew that Chris Godwin was going to, be banged up and they would have all of these different things go on and they would need Antonio Brown to step up. But they already had Godwin, they already had Gronk, they already had Evans, they had Brate. They really didn't need him, it felt like. Scotty Miller was playing at a really high level then too. but they got Antonio Brown and it pushed them over the top and they won the Super Bowl. Maybe that's what the Bills need. Maybe he's the missing piece offensively to push them over the top. For Dallas, they actually need him. They truly do need him. However, I think they're in the same position that the Giants are in. They really don't have any cap space to make this work. I mean, I'm pretty sure Jerry and company could go to, and this is the thing I always, when people say they don't have any cap space, I really don't pay that much attention, because if you truly want a guy or you need to make space, there's ways to create space. These capologists, these cap gurus that you have on your staff, these guys know how to make the numbers work. You can go and approach a player and say, hey, for the betterment of the team, we'll give you your money up front. All right. And we'll restructure your deal that will free up $7 million right now. And we'll give you your money up front. Or, vice versa. You can go to a guy and restructure a deal and spread the deal out, and making his cap number much lower. We've seen teams do it, like the Taysom Hill deal, signed like a 14-year deal, right? Like, what the hell is that about? It's just about spreading the money out, making it count less against the cap. So there's ways to make that number work so that you can sign an Odell Beckham if you truly want him. I don't think that's an issue for anyone. You can figure it out and make it work. It's just, do you want to jump through all the hoops and the obstacles that he's putting in front of you to sign him? If I'm Dallas, the answer is no. And if I'm the Giants, I think you consider it because you have nothing at receiver. But if I'm the Giants, why not just draft? I thought Bad Dog made a great point when he was on the Super Friend stream. Why not just draft a young stud receiver? You're going to have a first round pick somewhere. You don't have to have a top 5, top 10 pick to get a stud receiver. We saw that with Justin Jefferson, and we also see it with CeeDee Lamb. You don't have to have a top 10, top 15 pick to get a tremendous receiver. If the receiving class is deep that year, you can get a guy in the second round. We see the Steelers may have unearthed a gem in the Georgia product, former Georgia product, George Pickens. You don't have to get your guy in the first round. We saw that 2019 draft with all those receivers in the second round, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel. You don't have to get your guy in the first round. You don't have to get your guy in the top 5. You don't have to get your guy in the top 10. So why not get a new guy to come in instead of paying an old guy with injury issues to come in? I just think if I were Odell Beckham Jr., I'd be looking to make myself more available than what he's doing. I think he's making it difficult on the teams to commit to him. You'd think it'd be the opposite. But look, he knows his worth and his value, clearly, and somebody's probably going to pay him. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Enough of that. Let's get to the good stuff, man. You know how you remember the commercial? You go in the fridge, OJ, purple stuff, Sunny D. Let's get to the good stuff, man. All right. And that means Thursday night leftovers. We head into the kitchen. And I got some old taco meat left from last night. You guys call it ground turkey. Some of you call it ground beef. I call it Beyond Meat. Tastes great to me. Got a couple of taco shells. Vegan, of course. Let's get it on. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and prepare a couple of shells here. Got some diced tomato. I told you, ranch makes everything taste better. A little guac. I'm ready to rock. How about you? So we got some tasty leftovers from the 17-16 victory for the Rams over the Raiders in what wasn't a great game for the first 56 minutes or so. The last 4 were phenomenal. Similar to the Bucks game on Monday Night Football versus the Saints. First 56 minutes, you could have slept through that. If you woke up for the final 4 minutes, you caught a dandy. So we all know about the Baker Mayfield theatrics and how that went over. I mean, he got so much love from people, athletes from different sports, LeBron, John Morant. You had guys like J.J. Watt and Patrick Mahomes in awe of what he was able to do. It was a fun moment for a guy that had been through a lot this year in Baker Mayfield. And again, you don't have to like Bake. Okay. You don't have to like Bake. He's a very eccentric personality. He's a guy that you probably either really like or really dislike. But nonetheless, I thought it was a really cool story and watching it play itself out last night. So the Rams get the win, and it was just funny listening to Sean McVay. He was like, we've been losing for so long, you forget how fun winning is. I had some comments, and I was not so nice with Sean McVay about, the descent of this team this season. And look, injuries will cripple the best of the best. I mean, they are as banged up as it gets, them and the Chargers, but at least the Chargers still have Justin Herbert. The Rams don't even have Matthew Stafford anymore. Okay. So it's really bad. It's been bad this season. And it was a big win for them. I think what a lot of people forget is that these guys put a lot of work in from Monday to Saturday, whether it's getting their bodies prepared to endure another 60 minutes of brutality, or it's the mental side of it, going in, studying film, taking notes, getting the game plan, digesting that, figuring out how to attack the guy that's maybe covering you or vice versa. There's a lot that go. Again, it's like anybody else at work. Work is a grind, and for some of you, there's a payoff. For some of you, it isn't. It's just a grind every single day, and it's a means to an end, but there's no winning or losing. At least they get the satisfaction of a win. All of the fruits of their labor, all of the work that they put in, they get rewarded with a win if done correctly and things go their way. If not, though, the other side of that coin is brutal. When you put in all of that work and you lose and your body's aching and you can barely get out of bed and you got to do it all over again and you keep losing week after week after week, that shit wears on you. As a coach, as a player, that shit sucks. And you forget that sometimes because it's not you. You know what I mean? You're either rooting for the team or you're rooting for another team and it sucks to be them. But that's not my team, so I don't care. Human aspect to it. And McVay saying what he said kind of reminds you of that. Like, winning is awesome. Losing sucks. And Derek Carr talking about how you put all this work in on a weekly basis, only to have that, and this was after the Colts lost, only to have that be the result. It hurts. And he started crying and all of that good stuff, which is why I said, Derek gonna cry in the car, ain't he? He gonna cry in the car. That was a fun game, ending at least. Let's get to the leftovers, shall we? I think we shall. First leftover. That's the thing about Beyond Meat and just tacos in general. You can't go wrong with tacos. Like pizza, it's hard to F up pizza. It just is. It's hard to mess up tacos. Just is. Thursday night's 2-interception game was Derek Carr's third game of 2 interceptions or more this season. I say that to say this. Derek's not playing terrible. This is the dilemma that you find yourself in with Derek Carr every single year, which is why a lot of Raiders fans, we talked about this last night on Overtime, are ready to get off of the roller coaster. He's not bad enough to where you definitely have to get rid of him, but he's not good enough to where we absolutely have to keep him. You're kind of stuck in the middle with Derek Carr. And last night was one of those nights. 11 of 20, okay, which I thought part of the problem with them last night and why they lost the game is because they were too conservative. They thought the Rams were going to lay down and die. And when they were up 13-3, they thought the game was over. They took the air out of the football. Devontae Adams was having his way with Jalen Ramsey. They stopped throwing the football deep and testing that Rams defense vertically. They just ran it with Josh Jacobs. He got hurt, so they turned it to the rookie, and they just kept running the football. Derek Carr having 20 pass attempts is ridiculous for this game. Ridiculous. You know, they weren't up by 24 points in this game, and you take the air out and you're just looking to, beat the clock at that point. You were never clear of the Rams. You just thought they suck. They're a 3-win team. This 16-3 lead feels insurmountable. They haven't done anything all night. They got Baker Mayfield, who just got here 2 days ago, playing. We should be fine. Let's just run the football. That shit came back to bite him in the ass. But Carr having 20 attempts, but 2 interceptions in those 20 attempts, and one of those picks just being an absolute backbreaker in the red zone where you're guaranteed 3 points with one of the best kickers in football, in Daniel Carlson, and you throw an inexcusable interception in the end zone. This is why Raiders fans have had enough. He's 20 touchdowns, over 10 interceptions, and while that's not terrible, it's not good enough. Not for the way that this team is performing. They're 1-2 in those 3 games in which he's thrown 2 or more interceptions. I wonder what their record would have been in those games had he not thrown those interceptions. I don't know. Stop asking. I'm just telling you, Derek Carr, he's not going anywhere. The Raiders, again, I don't see them moving on from Derek Carr. You don't create a problem at the quarterback position if you don't have one. This is the sticky dilemma that they find themselves in. Had they just sucked this year where they were trending, I think Derek Carr was in trouble. But by them winning 3 straight, they'll probably win 2 or 3 to finish up. They're not going to be in a position to draft a quarterback, at least not one that guarantees you Derek Carr is done in Vegas. The only way you can guarantee and ensure Derek Carr is done is if you got one of the first 2 guys, either C.J. Stroud, and they were on track to get C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. They were number 2 in the draft pecking order just 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks now ago. So they're no longer there. You can't get rid of Derek Carr because you drafted Will Levis. Okay, so I think they're stuck, man, and that's not a good place to be. But speaking from experience, I'm stuck. It's not a good place to be. At least you got a guy that is good enough to get you where you want to go. You're just going to have to be really good around him. And unfortunately for the Raiders, they're not good enough around him. And that includes the coaching staff. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on. Next leftover. Baker Mayfield's epic performance was his first of 60% completion percentage with a minimum of 30 attempts, 200 plus yards, and at least 1 touchdown with no interceptions since week 5 of 2021. Okay, let that sink in. Baker Mayfield has been starting pretty much since then, right? He started all of 2021 despite being injured. He started the beginning of 2022. He was then benched. But he hasn't had a game like the one he turned in. Think about that. Let that sink in for a second. He hasn't had a game in over a year that mirrored the one he put up on Thursday night with 2 days of practice with the Rams, where he was over 60% completion percentage at roughly 62% when he went 22 of 35. He had over 200 yards passing. He had 230 yards passing. A minimum of 30 attempts, because you can be 17-21 and be up in the 70s and close to the 80s. But it's harder to complete 65, 70% when you're throwing it 30 times. He did that, and he had a touchdown and no interceptions. It's just a reminder, and I said this last night on overtime. It's just a reminder in these last 4 games, because Baker's going to start moving forward in LA the remainder of this season. It's just a brief reminder to everyone that Baker Mayfield is capable of starting in this league. Now, that was just a sample size. He's got 4 more weeks to prove and hammer that point home that, hey, I can lead an NFL franchise. I'm not done. That representation you got of me in Carolina is not an accurate one. Give me an entire offseason and I'll show you what I can do. I still think he needs to be in the right offense. This McVay offense is perfect for him. The Kevin Stefanski offense in Cleveland was perfect for him. LaFleur's offense in Green Bay, perfect for him. Kevin O'Connell's offense in Minnesota is perfect for him. He has to go somewhere where the fit is right. I don't think he fits everywhere. But anyway, I digress. Next leftover. You love when you get that bite, a little bit of salsa or pico, a little bit of guac, a little bit of meat, a little bit of ranch, all in the same bite. You don't always get that. Some bites are a little bit skewed towards, heavy on the meat side, heavy on the salsa side or the pico side. Sometimes the guac pushes to the back of the taco. Sometimes the guac pushes up the taco. But there's these certain bites that just are like nirvana. That was one of them right there. What was Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham doing down the stretch of this game? I am curious. So the Rams needed 98 yards with no timeouts on that final drive. And I think it was slightly over a minute and some change. They didn't have a lot of time, though. They needed 98 yards. Okay? The only way you're getting got by a team for a 98-yard drive to lose the game is if you give up big plays over the top. They get out of bounds on some chunk plays. That'll hurt you too with no timeouts. But ultimately, what's going to do you is if you give up some big plays over the top. And they didn't give up not one, but 2 big plays, including the game-winning or the game-tying score that was pending the extra point, the game-winning score to Van Jefferson with rookie Sam Webb in coverage. Why are the Raiders one-on-one 35, 40 yards down the field? We saw it on the Ben Skoranek play where he was one-on-one with the defender, went up and took the football down. And then we saw it on the game-winning touchdown toss to Van Jefferson. Rookie Sam Webb is one-on-one 40 yards down the field with Van Jefferson. Where's the psychological sense in that, player? If you think that's a good idea, you need to wash your face and get your mind right. What are we doing, dude? This should be cover 2 territory. Safety's over the top. Nobody's getting a free run down the field by themselves. Safety should be converging over the top at all times at this juncture of the game. Especially with no timeouts. That was hard to stomach there. But again, not my DC, not my team. But that doesn't make any sense to me. Next bite. This leftover is pretty good. Cam Akers, second quarter fumble was the 3rd of his career. He's lost all 3 of those fumbles. Now, if you've been watching Cam Akers, tell me that it doesn't feel like he's fumbled more than 3 times. He feels like he fumbles like once every 3 or 4 games, to me, at a bare minimum. I remember him feeling like he had a fumbling problem. I feel like he's fumbled more, but that's statistically what he's been credited with, fumbling 3 times. I felt like, and maybe that's just regular season fumbles. Remember, there was that Tampa Bay and Rams playoff game. Didn't Cam Akers fumble like twice in that game or something like that? Maybe these are regular season fumbles. I feel like he fumbles a lot more. I'm going to ask you guys a trivia question. Since 2020, what running back has the most fumbles in the NFL? Since 2020. If you've been watching and you've been keeping tabs, then you know. Those who know. I'm going to leave you with that tasty bite as we go to our next leftover. With one sack, wait, hold on. There it is, Rich, all over it. Melvin Gordon the third, with 15 of them bad boys. He's a fumbling mofo. With one sack and 2 tackles for loss on Thursday night, Maxx Crosby is now 4th in the league this season in sacks with 11.5. And he's 1st in the league in tackles for loss with 19. Max, 2X, 2X's is a beast. All right. He's one of my favorite players to watch. High energy, super talented, very, very technical too. He sets guys up. Just when you're looking for speed, boom, spin move. Now you're looking for hard outside, he goes back inside. Now you're looking for, speed, he comes with power. Long arm of the law. Like, he gives you some of everything. Big player in the run game, as I just told you, leads the league in tackles for loss with 19. The next closest defender, and there are 3 of them, 2 of which are Washington Commanders, but they're at 15. He's 4 clear of the next closest defender in the league in terms of tackles for loss. This guy impacts the game in so many ways. Man, did they get an absolute gem. Mike Mayock didn't leave a lot of gems behind. As a matter of fact, he stole from this organization. I mean, he stole the life out of them, but he did leave 1 or 2 gems behind. Maxx Crosby is the biggest and shiniest of the gems that he did. The few that he did leave behind. No doubt about it. Maxx Crosby is the best of the best of those gems. Another bite. With Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson out of the lineup, Ben Skoranek posted career highs in targets. He had 8 last night. Catches, he had 7 last night. In yards, he had 89. Meanwhile, his teammate Tutu Atwell, who's a second-year pro out of Louisville, or Louisville, as the locals call it, posted career highs in targets, 9, and catches, 5. So when you're going to do something like the Rams did last night, you're going to have guys step up. They had guys step up last night. Ben Skoranek was huge. Tutu Atwell quietly was really big for them last night. A lot of big catches, first downs, and a lot of people liked him coming out of Louisville. So I'd like to see him continue to develop. And I think these injuries, because at this point, there's no reason to bring Cooper Kupp back. Allen Robinson's already done for the season. Just let these young boys play. This can only help you moving forward. The more exposure they get, the more snaps they get, the more reps and the more opportunities they get, the better it is for the whole team. Because when those other guys come back, or you add another receiver to the mix, if Allen Robinson isn't back next year, they decide to go in a different direction, but you get Cooper Kupp back, and then you get another guy in here that's a veteran, or you draft another young guy. Normally, more likely than not with the Rams, it's going to be a veteran player that they bring in if they can move on from, Allen Robinson, who had a very disappointing campaign this year. But if you get a more confident Ben Skoranek and Tutu Atwell to add to the mix with a Cooper Kupp, it only strengthens that team. Van Jefferson healthy next year. This is a good thing for the Rams, even though their season has not gone the way they want it to. Now, with Baker there, now that you don't have the kid from UVA playing quarterback, Perkins, right? Somebody can actually throw the football. Now that you don't have John Wofford back there trying to throw the football, now you actually have a competent NFL quarterback throwing them the ball. It's going to help them, I think, a ton. Anyway, I digress. Let's move on to the final segment of today's show and my money picks of the week. Week 14 in the National Football League. Your man Louie T had a beautiful week last week, and it was close. It almost got ugly. In here, oh, in here, oh, in here, oh. It almost got ugly. Your boy was sweating bullets in the first half of them games last week because I told you I picked Philadelphia to lose to Tennessee. That did not go well. Okay, that did not go well. So I lost the game probably. You know, when you lose games like that, it's easy to second guess yourself and beat yourself up. I don't do that anymore. I used to beat myself up like, you dumbass. Everybody's picking Philadelphia. All you do is pick Philadelphia. Why did you do that? You can't do that. If you do that to yourself, you're going to end up missing out on opportunities because, again, scared money don't make money. And the scared version of me was tanking earlier this season. I was drowning, man. I was drowning. Okay. And then I started to play loosey goosey. I went free. I was like, you know what? I know better. When you know better, do better. And I've been hot. So I made up for losing the Philadelphia game. There was another big loss. The Falcons, they hurt me, boy. That hurt. Steelers winning that game. Boy, that one hurt. So you lose that game. You lose the Eagles game. There was another one in there in the first half that I felt good about. Chicago. They were up 16-3, and those bastards, boy, they did that Chicago thing. I ain't messing around with the Bears no more, man. They are some shit. And they let the Packers come back and beat them. Those three hurt me bad. I was reeling heading into the second half. And then some big boys stepped up and said, hey, Louie T, I got you, bro. I'm going to hold you down. I picked the Raiders over the Chargers. Raiders said, I got you, bro. I picked the Bengals over the Chiefs. Bengals said, hey, what's my name? What's my name? He said, hey, I said, hey, Joey B, you my guy. Bengals, I love y'all. They held me down. And you look up, and I made up the ground that I lost in the first half, finished 11-4, and that was a really good week last week. So I'm looking to build upon that. I'm now 125, 68-2 on the season. This is not a fun week of games. Last week was so delicious. I mean, it was 6 games of teams above 500 squaring off against each other. No such luck this week, okay? It's a lot of bad football teams playing against teams that are better than them for the most part. I can tell you this is what's going to make this week compelling. I don't love a lot of the matchups, but you know what I do love? Family business. And there's a ton of it this week. And thus, I think this week's going to ultimately end up being a lot better than I think. But nonetheless, I got off to a rough start. But the good thing is I took the L with just about everybody. Nobody was picking the Rams. So I think I took that Raiders loss with just about everybody else. But still, I don't like losing. Even if I can take solace in knowing everybody took the L, I still don't like losing. But not off to the best of starts, but let's rebound. That's all that means. It's a setback for the comeback. So Minnesota at Detroit. This is a toughie because, again, NFC North family business. You know how to family do it. And if you don't, then you probably should stay out. And these two teams played earlier this season. TJ Hawkinson was playing for the Lions then. He's now playing for the Vikings. I don't know if that makes that big of a difference or not in the outcome of this game. However, the Lions should have won the first game in Minnesota. They had the Vikings dead to rights, and they failed to convert on a 4th down late in the game. And then they missed a field goal as well to boot, and it opened the door. The Vikings kicked it in and ended up stealing the game at the very end. The Lions are a much better team now than they were then, and they actually weren't that bad then, but they're even better now in terms of the way they're playing. They've won 3 out of their last 4. They're scoring a bunch of points. They're very efficient in the red zone. The defense is starting to create turnovers. The Vikings, on the other hand, they're finding ways to win. They're a dangerous team. We know what they can do offensively. Defensively, I'm not too sure that they're as stout as we think, or some of you may think, but I really look at this family business, and I think this is one of those opportunities for Minnesota to get caught up. Caught up, got me feeling it, caught up. I think they get caught up here in Detroit. Lions are playing hot football. Somebody told me a couple of weeks, matter of fact, last week, a couple of days ago, look out for the Lions if they beat Minnesota. And I dismissed them like, man, Lions ain't doing shit. All right. I think they're going to beat Minnesota, though. I do think they're going to beat the Vikings. Give me the Lions at home to do what they should have done the first time, and that's beat Minnesota. I think they get it done this time. I'll take the Lions. I may regret it. Vikings always seem to find a way to win. This is family business. Give me the Lions. Ravens at Steelers, more family business. AFC North variety of family business. Now, this isn't the same family business you're accustomed to between these two teams. There's no Lamar Jackson in this game. You're going to get you some Tyler Huntley, and it's Kenny Pickett. And so we got to learn to enjoy this rivalry with the new pieces that are now starting to present themselves. I don't like the way Baltimore's playing football right now, even with Lamar Jackson in the lineup. Losing to Jacksonville last week or the week before, barely getting by Denver last week, and then the week prior to losing to Jacksonville, barely getting by Carolina. I don't like the football that they're playing right now. And I actually do like the football that Pittsburgh is playing right now. And I like the defense that Pittsburgh is playing. And once TJ Watt came back, I knew the defense would improve, and it has. And now Kenny Pickett's not turning the football over. That was the biggest problem early in the season. He was turning it over left and right. They were losing the football games. I really think that Kenny Pickett taking care of the football now, the defense being better against Tyler Huntley, who, it's funny, people swear by Tyler Huntley. I'm like, yo, Tyler Huntley he's mid for me. I'm sorry. He's mid. I'll take the Steelers in that game to take out the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is Cincinnati's division to win. Speaking of Cincinnati, they're at home in the Battle of Ohio, taking on the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson at quarterback. Deshaun stunk it up last week. The Browns improving on defense, but offensively, they're still a run-first team. If you can slow down Nick Chubb and company, you're going to have a chance to win, because I still think their passing offense is way behind their rush offense. That said, Cincinnati's playing at a very high level right now. They're starting to click. They're finding their rhythm at the right time of the season. I like where they are, and I like them in this game. I think they lost to Cleveland earlier this season on a Monday night. I think it was Halloween, as a matter of fact, or Halloween Eve or Halloween night on a Monday night. They're going to exact a little bit of revenge here. Give me the Bengals at home to take care of the Cleveland Browns. New York Jets at the Buffalo Bills. More family business. Now, this is some juicy family business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, well, that's some AFC East family business. And this has already conducted once, with the Jets taking care of the Bills earlier this season in New York or in New Jersey. And so the Bills are out for revenge. And you know what revenge is, right? It's a dish best served ice cold, and it's going to be cold-blooded in Orchard Park on Sunday. The Bills will be looking to get revenge, out for blood against these Jets, who are playing much better football with Mike White at quarterback. But I think we find out that the Jets aren't ready, and they're clinging to that final playoff spot at 7-5. We're going to see what they're really made of. Are you serious? If you're really serious, you don't have to win this game, but you need to put up a fight. If you go into Buffalo and you get steamrolled 34-13, that lets me know, hey, you ain't really serious about making the playoffs. I want to see what this Jets team is all about, because they played the Bills tough as hell the first time, got to Josh Allen, forced turnovers, and won that game. Can they do it again? The answer for me is hell no. Not no, hell no. Give me the Bills at the crib, but I want to see if they can make it an interesting game in the process. Texans at Cowboys. Nothing needs to be said other than Dallas wins this game. Eagles at the Giants. The G-Men. NFC East family business. Boy, this is vicious, flavor, delicious for me. I'm an NFC East guy. You guys know that. So this is a very, very intriguing game. Now, The Giants are going to have to score points if they expect to beat the Eagles. The 17 to 20 point shit that they've been doing lately, not going to get it done. They want to beat the Eagles. They're going to have to score 24 or more, bare minimum. Okay. So we'll see if they're capable of doing that. But also in the process of doing that, they're going to have to hold down that explosive Eagles offense. And whether that means ball control on offense, you're still going to have to deal with them when they get the football. A lot of people, love to cite Washington and what they did to the Eagles. And yes, that's the blueprint. But you know what Washington also did in that game? They got stops. They forced turnovers. They forced the Eagles, because the Eagles tried to speed them up, right? The Eagles said, okay, your answer to slowing us down is to take the air out of the football, play ball control. Well, when we get it, we're going to boat race you. We're going no huddle, and we're going to speed up the tempo and see if you can keep pace with that. And Washington was able to still flummox the Eagles, force turnovers, take away one of their biggest targets in A.J. Brown, and make it difficult on them. They didn't have a 100-yard receiver in that game. I don't know of very many games this season where the Eagles didn't have at least 100-yard receiver. They had none in that game versus Washington. Can the Giants duplicate that? I'm not sure. But it's family business. All bets are off. Throw the records out the window. We'll see what the Giants get done in this game. I'm not betting on it. Give me the Eagles to keep it going and make it 12-1 on the season. Jacksonville at Tennessee. More family business, please. AFC South variety. I actually try to stay away from this family business. This is not good for your health, okay? No nutritional value when two AFC South teams get together. So I try to steer clear of this, but it's still family business. It's tasty to somebody, just not me. The Jacksonville Jaguars are a much better home team than road team. Now, when it comes to playing games in the division, they're capable of going on the road and getting it done. It just doesn't happen very often. They're going to be very competitive in this game. They've already beaten the Tennessee Titans earlier this season in Jacksonville, okay? But I just don't see them doing it again on the road this time. So, I take that back. Houston went to Jacksonville and beat the Jaguars, not the other way around. Sorry. They haven't beaten Tennessee this year. I don't even know if they played Tennessee now that I think about it. I don't know if they played Tennessee this year or not. This might be the first matchup between the two teams. Either way, I don't really love what the Titans are doing right now. I don't love that they fired their GM this week. I don't love that their stud rookie receiver who was just coming into his own, Treylon Burks, sustained a concussion last week. Don't even know if he's playing this week. There's a lot of things I don't like about the Titans right now, but you know what I do like? Mike Vrabel's ability to find a way to get them a victory when it seems like all odds are against them. I'll take the Titans. I may regret that, but give me the Titans at home to take care of the Jags. Chiefs at Broncos. Nothing more needs to be said than I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs. That's family business as well. I don't care. Broncos absolutely suck donkey balls. Now, defensively, they're one of the best. Offensively, trash as it gets. Panthers at Seahawks. Panthers are coming off of a bye, coming off of a big win prior to the bye. The problem is all of their wins, they've got 4 of them this season, have come at home. Okay? All right. And 3 of their 4 wins that have come this season have been against divisional opponents. Okay? So 3 of their 4 wins are against divisional teams in New Orleans, Atlanta, and Tampa Bay. They've beaten all of them at home in Carolina. And then they beat, who did they beat prior to the bye? Denver. Beat Denver at home for their 4th win, all at home. I don't think they're winning a road game this season. Give me Seattle and Geno Smith. Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. They keep winning. Give me the Seahawks. Bucks at 49ers. I stopped on this game for a second, and I thought, man, what is that Tampa Bay defense going to do to this young 7th-round rookie Brock Purdy? Like, what are they going to do defensively to him? What is Todd Bowles going to do with that diabolical brain of his defensively? And I started to convince myself, you know what? Tampa Bay can go in there and win. And just as I was about to circle Tampa Bay, I stopped myself And my brain said, bro, have you lost your damn mind? You're talking about what Tampa Bay's defense is going to do to Brock Purdy. What do you think San Francisco's defense is going to do to Tom Brady's ass? He's already shook back there. Their offensive line is in shambles. What do you think they're going to do to Tom Brady's ass? They could barely move the ball against the Saints defense. And I said, good point. I think I'll take the 49ers in this game. And that's what I ultimately did. The Bucs can go in there and win. I wouldn't be shocked. I wouldn't bat an eye. But the 49ers defense is the more legit of the two groups. And their defense is capable of creating turnovers and destroying that Bucs offense that struggles to score anyway against mid defenses. The Bucs are struggling. What do you think they're going to do against one of the most elite units in the league right now? I'll take the San Francisco 49ers in that game. Sunday Night Football. Dolphins at Chargers. I actually think this is going to be a very delectable football game because the Chargers, they're at that point of the season where it's make or break. Are you really going to try to make a push for the postseason, or are you about to fade to black? And this is one of those swing games. They're 6-6 right now, the Chargers. And if they're serious about making a playoff push, finally getting Justin Herbert to play bonus football, this is the game you gotta win to start propelling yourself down the stretch to see if you can't win, 4 games in a row to finish up and get to 10-7, or there's actually 5 games left for them. See if you can't win 4 out of 5 to get to 10-7 on the season. You're gonna need to win a game like this. I really think the Chargers can win this game. This is the type of game that the Chargers win. Like last week, it's the type of game that the Chargers lose, where they lose to a team they probably shouldn't lose to in the Raiders, but that's family business. This is the type of game that you really don't give them a chance. You don't really see them jumping up and biting anybody, and they jump up and bite the hell out of somebody. But the Dolphins are just too dynamic on offense, and they can run the football too now with Jeff Wilson. And the Chargers just can't stop anybody from running the football. And the Chargers can't stop dynamic weapons. They couldn't stop Devontae Adams last week. They couldn't stop Travis Kelce the week before that. What makes you think they're going to be able to stop Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? Hence, I take the Miami Dolphins in this game. And thus, Monday night, Patriots at Cardinals. I like the Cardinals in that game. Don't ask me why. I just don't trust the Patriots. I probably should trust Bill Belichick's defense against a struggling and sputtering Cardinals offense, but they're coming off of a bye week. I figure they should be able to do something here, but I probably should have taken New England. I just, for some reason, in the Cardinals don't play well at home. They actually suck at home, so that's not even an advantage for them. But I just don't like New England, and I think the Cardinals. This is one of those games that they can jump up and get. And so give me the Cardinals. No rhyme or reason. I just think they're going to win. So those are my picks. I am sticking with them. And that is going to do it for the 304th installment of the Louie T Network podcast. It's been fun. It always is. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys in the near future. Have a great weekend. I'm going to continue to enjoy the rest of this bye week or whatever's left of it. And we will reconvene on Sunday night for the conclusion of Chargers and Dolphins. For the rest of you, I'll see you on the next installment of the Louie T Network podcast. Until then, get off the bench, get in the game, and kick it with me, your man, Louie T. God bless, and good night. Louie T.